Hello, everyone, and welcome to Progress with Portia, where we have real conversations to progress individuals and communities. Today, I am here with Kia Murphy, and we are continuing the Widow Walk series. And so she has joined me to talk about her journey, her story, about her marriage and the loss of her husband. So thank you so much, Kia, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your husband? Tell them. I mean, I know he was known internationally, Devon, Devon or Devon. Wait, he's a twin.
Devon.
Yes. Okay. I was like, please let me have said twin. I know Devon. Okay, Devon. Devon Murphy. And just go ahead and just share a little bit about what happened, how you met. Tell us,
Just a little background.
yeah.
Okay, so I grew up at his grandfather's church as a little girl, Greater Ebenezer in Detroit. And of course, everybody was birthed out of there. His father actually went to pastor a church in Pontiac when Vaughn was younger, New Mariah. And so we met. I always used to see him around. And I'm the same with him. He would see me around, and we officially met when I was 16 years old. He was 17, and we he. It was funny because he was going to prom like some months later, and after we met, he was going to prom, and so we were just having a conversation after a concert, and I said, who are you, who are you taking to prom? Just making conversation. And he goes, you. And I'm like, yeah, right. You don't know my mother. so, but so when I asked my mom, so we exchanged numbers, and I asked my mother if I could go, and she absolutely said no. But he was very persistent. He's like, let me call her. So
Oh,
he, he called my mother, and he got it done. so
yeah, Devon.
he, he was such a charmer. So he got
Mhm.
it done. My mom, she gave in, and the rest is history. So I dated him from 16 to the age of 24 when I got married.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
yep, and when he passed away, I was 31, going on 32 some months later. But yep, the rest is history. So high school sweetheart, best friend,
Mhm.
all of the above.
Yeah, and I mean, I can only imagine how you say you were how old when he passed?
One.
Hmm.
31.
31.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. So you were really young, and I'm sure that's never a path that you even imagine having to walk down. And so, and for him, it wasn't immediate. And so, you want to tell a little bit about that backstory, just about what the health, issues were that because sometimes the last conversations I had, I think they had one was husband's and then the other one it was an ambush. It was two different types of loss, and each loss hurts, but then there's different types of
Oh,
losses because you're grieving
yeah,
different ways.
of course.
Hmm.
So Vaughn was diabetic, and after so many years, that took a toll on
Hmm.
his body. And so he started kind of down on the inside. Um, so what I mean is he was diagnosed with kidney
Mm.
failure. Um, he was diagnosed as legally blind. So that was a long journey, just um there are things that you look forward to when you're married. You look forward to long life and a long, healthy life
Yeah.
with your mate. And so for us, I think the moment that he had diabetes when we started dating, so he was young with it.
Hmm.
So that was, he coped with that. But the older we got, it took a toll. And so with him being diagnosed, with the, I believe it was the heart failure first.
Okay.
I did not realize it, but I started grieving then
Right.
because I'm like, now, this is something that he didn't ask for,
Right.
So then with the kidney failure, then it was another that I grieved a little more. And
Mm-hmm.
they diagnosed him as legally blind. Portia, I lost it. Like
Yeah.
I lost it because I'm like, here you have this man of God who is his faith. They talk about
Right.
faith. That's
Amazing.
what he had. He definitely inspired me. So
Yeah.
you have this man of faith um going through this. His faith was definitely challenged, but he was unwavering. I was the one boo-hooing, and he was consoling me, and I'm like, I need to be consoling you, but he was strong and unwavering. He trusted God until the end. So it was hard though, this, like, my husband, I had to step up and do everything. He still ministered and traveled
Right.
across the world to ministering at different places. But I had to, I was right there with him, and stepping up and driving, and I drove everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and there were things that was a challenge for him because he's like, there are things that a husband looks forward to doing for his wife. And
Right.
yeah, and so for him not to be able to do some things, it was a struggle. But God was faithful through the whole process. And
Right.
the one thing that I'm grateful for, and he was grateful for as well, was there was no amputations.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
many diabetics go through that.
Right.
Was like, I do not want that, and I didn't want it for him. And so that was God was faithful in that.
Right.
You know?
And it's so encouraging for you to even hear the strength that and be able to speak of faith and all of that, even through all that you've gone through. And as you stated, I mean, and that was what I was kind of referencing earlier, is because he was sick, you were grieving before he even died, because he was deteriorating before you, like you were seeing the decline
Yes,
happening, and not knowing what's going to happen next. When is God going to step in and heal? What is this going to be? And
right.
so, once he passed, and you and you had time to kind of look back. Once it, like, did you have a moment that it just really, like, everything fully hit you again? Because I'm sure the part of you went into shock mode, and you just did what you had to do during, even if you had moments you broke down. It's like you can't really process everything that's happening. And so
Right.
what was
Um, I know that a lot of people think that, oh, Vaughn passed away because he was a diabetic. Vaughn passed away ultimately from a pulmonary embolism, which is
mm,
blood clot, and it traveled to his lungs.
mm,
So when he did not he didn't pass right away.
mm.
Of course, him and I were driving in the car,
Oh wow.
and he went into cardiac arrest. And so when the ambulance came and took him to the hospital, the doctors, they worked on him, worked on him.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the doctor, when I was waiting in the room, and so when the doctor finally came to speak to his mom and I think his twin brother was in the room, and the doctor said, we got, his heart to beat again. And I was like, what do you mean beat again? I'm like, so he died, and and she was like, well, she's like, something like that. She said, but so that right there, that, but we're allowing him, wanted to give him a chance because he was so young.
Yeah.
So I was allowed to see him, shortly after I had that conversation with the doctor. And so seeing him, that definitely, it definitely hit there.
Hmm.
I had never seen anything like it in my life.
Hmm.
even then, it's like God was carrying me through.
Yeah.
Like even from the moment that I was walking back to see him, God, he had me. It's a kind of covering and a shield um that you can't explain,
Yeah. Hmm.
know somebody has you. And
Right.
so when I reflect back on that, uh,
Hmm.
you know, it- now it's still hard, it's still heavy, but when reflecting back on it, and in the beginning, you think of things that you could have done differently,
Hmm.
but and you're like, oh God, that my heart's desire was for him to be healed, and you didn't give me, you didn't do that for me. When I reflect back, I have those thoughts, and
Hmm.
God had to, he challenged that, and he just said, according to my will, though, it's nothing.
Right.
Else. It's
Hmm.
all God. So um I'm comforted in that,
Yeah.
and even there was a quote that I read that said, our faith is not that God will do what we want, but that God will do what is right. And I felt I'm very I'm strong in that God did what was right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've gone through all of that, and then you all had a daughter, and y'all are processing. What was it like for you? And as far as having, and I know you have, great family and, great love and support from there, but as far as walking through, because this was new for all, I'm sure for all of you. I don't know if any of you all had that experience. So, um, what was it like navigating that space? And is there anything you wish you would have known, or resources or supports you would have had in that process?
Um Navigating through and the different resources, there's nothing that can prepare you for it. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm grateful that I had a strong support system, because not a lot of people have family to support them through something as tough as that. You know,
Hmm.
and the toughest thing for me when Vaughn had been in the hospital for, he passed away 10 days later.
Hmm.
So maybe like on the 6th or 7th day, I allowed Vion, which is our baby girl, I allowed her to see him, but I kept her from him for as long as I could. And I knew that, you know, that was the hardest thing, was, letting her see him like that. There were many hospital visits with what Vaughn had gone through. And so when Vion would come to visit him, it was just like, oh, let's get the daddy. I can hop in the bed with dad, and we can eat snacks, and we can watch TV.
Hmm.
But this time it was different. So
Right.
um, there was a social worker, of course, at the hospital who kind of helped, and she talked to Vion, explain to her what she would see, with her dad being in a coma. So,
Hmm.
but that honestly, Portia, was the hardest thing for me, is my daughter, our daughter, seeing him like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I still, think about that phone call, because but when he went into the hospital, I didn't go home at all. And so here she is. We have good support system, right? And so there are different people at the house going to watch her and keep her. And I'm just talking to her on the night. She just had a breakdown. Like, knew things were different. She
Yeah.
are different. My mom is not here. My dad is in the hospital. I don't know anything. So um yeah, that the phone call with her just breaking down and like, I want to see him, and me telling her it's not the same. That was the hardest thing for me. So
Yeah.
um different resources, they offer it, when you're going through. You know, I think that because I'm so strong spiritually, um
Right.
that that one resource was God and spirit. So if people don't have that, you're not as spiritually sound, I do recommend, therapy, when they offer it in the hospital. If you want to talk to somebody, chaplain, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, but
And
That
you and his family, and I'm not sure exactly about your family as well, but I know that you very close. And so having that uniquely close family who are all spiritually strong, who are all, serving. And even though you were all grieving,
yeah.
I'm sure, at the same time, it also, you all, because you all serve so faithfully and, seeking God so much that there had to be, even because the Bible says in our greatest weakness that's where we are made strong. And so even though may have been a lot of weakness in the house, there then also was a lot of strength because
Oh,
that you all may have had one another to kind of pour into.
yeah, we did. Everybody was everybody, yeah, like you said, we were weak, but we were made strong. And
Mhm,
one was weak at one moment, the other one was being strength for that, for
mhm.
the next person. So it
Yeah,
worked and it helped my family, both sides for us, are spiritually strong.
yeah,
That definitely helped. It's kind of like it's just like both sides have you, you're where it's like you feel like you're gonna fall, but you have that you just holding you up.
now
So
your story, as well as the last two ladies who I interviewed, all of you all actually had this kind of were international because of who your spouses were. And so was there any impact on you, and did that interfere with your grieving? Was it support, was it helpful, was it not helpful? What was that like, having so many people be aware and and concerned and messaging and all of that? What was that like?
I did not I didn't see or hear anything until after his services.
Mm-hmm.
I just was out of the loop with that. I know that my phone, when he passed away, my phone had lost battery. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went to plug my phone back in, Portia, that thing was binging, binging, zoom, 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 so much so that it crashed.
Oh Lord.
Like it crashed, and I couldn't get in it. It was
Wow.
on
Wow.
because it was just off the chain. And so once I um once I I went and got a new phone, and once I got my messages, it was overwhelming, the love that I received. Now there were some negative things said, because people were trying to figure out exactly what happened,
Mm,
that I heard about after his service. And I'm just like, but people were on, we were surrounded by so many people who loved us. So people
yeah,
were at,
yeah, yeah.
oh, what we heard this and we heard that, and speculation.
Right,
But
right.
so it didn't affect me. I didn't pay it no attention. When you have much, so many other things to think about, and then you're grieving. I had just, you just lost my husband. I didn't think about, what anybody was saying at that point.
Oh, and not necessarily, and when I mentioned that, not necessarily what people are saying, but some of the other women were just saying, maybe putting, and they had to do some interviews or different things sometimes. So they were saying that it took away a lot of time, or just the energy, or sometimes it became a trigger. People were asking how you, because there were so many people who would
Yeah,
ask or to know. And of course, everyone has different levels of that. But then when you have so many people who know and love you, they were
yeah,
saying that sometimes that can become a trigger.
yeah,
That and it was overwhelming to have to keep talking so much all the time to
yeah,
people.
yeah. I think because I kind of I literally, not went to hiding, after he passed, but I kind of became very, very, very still.
Okay.
That I've always done, even as a little girl. Once I became aware of who I was and
Mhm.
faith, even as a little girl, Portia, I would become still if something
Right.
heavy on my mind or heavy on my heart. So I became still once Vaughn passed. And so there wasn't a lot of people around me. asking like, are you okay? Or, asking about what happened. The
Mhm.
I was asked about it a lot, is like when we were in the hospital and
Okay.
explaining over and over again, and they're explaining to us what's happening with
Right.
Vaughn to
Okay.
do. Had to make a decision, but other than that, there were really no triggers for
Okay.
me.
Good. Okay. Hmm.
I, it's like God just literally hid me. It
Right. Wow.
took me, and in that hiding though, I did feel like I can't remember a lot. I had to,
Hmm.
like, I became just kind of numb,
Yeah.
aware. I
Hmm.
had a daughter who was going into the fifth grade. I remember that year, but not necessarily like 2 years plus after that. So I
Okay.
like I had to ask God to kind of give me, a way to cope so that I can be there for my baby,
Right. Right.
too. But
Mm.
I mean, I literally, Portia, was tapped out for about 2.5 years.
Yeah. Hmm. Wow. Now, one of the final questions, just wanting to know what has dating been like afterwards? Someone wanted to have that conversation, wanted to know as a widow and being young, and what are some of the challenges? What are some, what has that process been like? Was it difficult for you to get back out there?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you talk about triggers. But there's lots of triggers when it comes to dating. When things don't go right. I'm like, if my husband was here, I wouldn't be going through this,
right, right.
It's so um dating has been challenging.
Hmm.
I definitely desired to have a long life,
Yeah.
probably with my husband. And then we wanted more children.
Mm.
So it's not been easy. I find that I don't talk about, unless if I'm, seeing a particular person, and
Yeah.
if they have questions, then I'll answer the questions, but I just don't bring them up.
Hmm.
I keep that, private. But
Hmm.
I'm just taking it one step at a time. I had somebody who adored me. Um,
Yeah.
adored me. And so knowing that I had that before, I know that God will do it again.
Right.
Haven't found that one. So, or he hasn't found me rather. But dating is challenging. I'm just like, oh, Lord, keep me near.
Yeah, and I think I mean, it truly. I mean, I can't imagine what it is to walk down that path and to know that you have experienced that true love, and being re-single again myself for
Yeah,
different reasons. But walking down this path and seeing what it's like being older is definitely challenging. Like you said, having the fact that, okay, God, I didn't ask to be in this situation, and what I went through. I do think if, like what they said, it's better to have loved than to have never loved at all. Quote, and I think it is such a beautiful gift that you were allowed to have that love, sincere love from a man, and to have that beautiful love story that
yeah.
you had, and for you to at least be able to carry that, moving forward. But again, I know it's just one step at a
It-
time.
I always say I'm grateful for that. I'm like, God, I'm grateful that you allow me to experience a love like that. If I don't ever experience it again, I'm grateful. Because we
Yeah.
always want, right? We
Mhm.
always, okay, God, but I want to marry again. We always want more, but I'm learning to be grateful for what He has already given me.
Mm.
So even with my daughter, I used to want more children. I'm like, God, I want more children. Like that you took that away from me. I want more kids, but I'm grateful to have had my daughter. If
Mm.
I never have another child, I'm grateful. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, again, it's just a different scenario, but definitely agree. Like I desire to have more children, and that's a prayer of mine, to be able to remarry. And I'm grateful for my situation. And what I see out here is like I see, to me, it just seems like some people don't necessarily even believe in love, or they have never experienced a true love. And to see that void, I mean, it just hurts my heart that people believe that people could truly love one another. And this, and even though my story ended in divorce, I mean, I did truly care for and love my husband. I believe he truly cared and loved me. And I'm still thankful for the years we had together, and the time that we had. And so that whoever gets the gift of you will definitely be blessed with someone who knows how to love and to be there, and to really be a good wife, and and intercessor, and everything that comes with the role of being a helpmeet. And so it would definitely be a blessing.
Yep, I feel the same about you.
Well, is there any advice or anything you want to say, or just any last parting words you want to say to someone who may be walking through this process, to encourage them, to uplift them?
Yeah. I would just say continue to trust God, and continue to breathe. When Vaughn left, I felt, you kind of have to pat yourself like, okay, am I still here? Because a part of me, we were really one. So a part of me felt like, a part of me did, but I felt like, okay, am I, you have to do like a reality check. Am I still breathing? Feel yourself, and sometimes it's just good to just, close your eyes and take your surroundings and do some breathing exercises. That kind of helped me too, just to kind of like calm myself. Because even with what we've been through, the anxiety is at an all-time high. We all know what it is to feel anxious. And so I would just say continue to just be aware, take one moment at a time, and don't get weary. It is possible to do so.
And one thing I did ask some of the other ladies is, if
Mhm.
you could look back at yourself and tell yourself something when you first grew, what said to Kia at the beginning of this process that you did not know, um, that you know now?
That I didn't know at the beginning when I lost started.
Yeah, like what this process was going to be like. Any fears, any doubts, any like, or what you wish you would have done more of, or what you like. It doesn't have to be bad, but just
Yeah.
anything you would have said to yourself about the process to
Yeah.
encourage yourself.
I think I just would have looked back at myself and I would say, "You're okay.
Hmm.
You're okay." Because there were moments where I'm like, "I'm not good. I'm not good. I'm not gonna make it." But looking back at myself and saying, "You're okay. You're okay. You got this. God has you covered. Just keep pushing."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Good, good. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you sharing your
Thanks for
story. And we're going to do a virtual together so all the ladies can kind of meet and talk, and share with some other widows, just their process, and encourage and uplift some other women, because again, it's different for everyone. Everyone's journey, everyone's path is different through this widow walk. And so definitely we were talking about not comparing yourself or your journey to one person's,
yeah.
not feeling bad because you don't feel as strong, or as whatever as someone else. Feel bad if you do feel strong and someone else doesn't. There's nothing wrong with that if God's giving you strength to get through the journey. But just surrendering that process to God, seeking resources when needed, support systems, whatever it takes for you. But definitely reach out if you need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
To just and I know that was something that helped me through infertility, was finding other people who had through similar
Yeah.
situations.
Surrounding yourself. Yeah. I'm still in therapy is a that therapy everybody needs therapy.
Right. Oh,
So
I agree.
long it's a lifelong journey to becoming whole in your best self. So that definitely has played an intricate part in me becoming my best self in this new chapter of my life.
Yeah, I agree. I say everyone needs a therapist just like they need a primary care physician.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Yes.
right, Keo, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to having the discussion furthering the conversation with all of you all.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.